A very warm welcome to you and to our beautiful guest today, Heather A. Scott. Heather very kindly has come in to share her story with us, her journey inside my 12-month program, the Living Abundance Mastermind. Thank you so much for being here, Heather. And I would like to take a moment to introduce this beautiful woman before we dive in. Heather A. Scott is an educator, trainer, a certified life coach with a specialization in parent as coach and an author. Her first book, Gentle with You, Connecting Self-Care and Parenting, was published in 2021. She owns Green Orchid coaching and provides private and group coaching on self-care, organization, and time management. She also holds webinars and a monthly conversation series on various self-care topics. And Heather currently lives in Western Canada with her 2 sons. Welcome, Heather. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. So I would love you to share a little bit about where you were before we started working together. What's going on in your life before you joined us in the mastermind?
Before I joined, I am still working a part-time contract where I support an owner of a fairly large company here in my city. And I have 1 or 2 days dedicated to working with private clients and developing my own business. So a nice balance, and was looking for something to begin to expand the area that is just mine.
Beautiful. And so when you were choosing to come in and dive in a bit deeper into this work and into this process, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking about when it came to making an investment and making a decision to dive into greater expansion?
Everything that you speak of is that wealth is an integrated experience within our lives, and that our business and our bank account is one component of how that is realized and reflected. And that really resonated for me. One of the reasons that I chose to work with you is that having an integrated approach where my health and well-being, my connection with family and friends, maintaining the life that I already love while expanding my business and my reach and the money that I'm earning, that it all can happen in an integrated way. That resonated so clearly for me. That was a major factor in connecting with you.
That's so beautiful. So, and I think sometimes we don't even know that that's a possibility, right? We think it has to be one or the other. And we're learning to figure out how to integrate that, right?
Yeah, so it felt like one option or the other, and I wanted it to be both. So
yes, same with me. That was like a non-negotiable. How do we do this, right? Without cutting off your leg for success or whatever. Amazing. What has your experience been so far inside of the mastermind? What are some of the shifts, changes, awarenesses that you have had doing this work so far?
I'm becoming aware of what I actually want, which is, it has always felt like the environment wasn't quite ready to hear what I really wanted to create. So having a regular group where I can share a bigger version of myself, an expanded, wealthier version of me and my life, is incredibly valuable. Learning how I can expand my capacity to receive, rewiring to receive, is something that I was experiencing most of last year. My word of the year was receptivity. And I did come across a number of your recordings that talked about that. And that is what I'm noticing is I'm growing to receive more. And that is also what my experience is in the outer world. More people are approaching me, inviting me to host workshops or explore private coaching with them, or invite me to do a blog post or an interview or a podcast. So I'm having the idea of rising and shining a little bit has been happening over the past 3 months.
That's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing when we do that inner work that somehow we magnetize or attract in external results? It's amazing, isn't it? Because it doesn't make sense to our logical mind sometimes, does it? These are extraordinary.
When I think about it being an inside job to begin with, it seems almost too easy to me. And yet, some of the work that I've done since beginning with the mastermind has been fairly confronting. And yet, as I confront and move through it, the results have been very beneficial to me, my relationships, and my experience in my business as well. So
That is wonderful. And it is just the beginning. So I'm so excited about what's to come. And I think that, is there anything about the inside job, because it is simple, the concepts are simple. And you're saying it seems too easy, but actually navigating through the inside game, the inner game of wealth creation isn't always a comfortable experience. Is there anything you'd like to share about that? Like what it actually takes, what it actually means to rewire to receive, to expand your capacity to open up to receive more?
yeah, I'd love to, because that actually is my area of passion, which is self-care. So me choosing to work with you is a great act of self-care for me. It's allowing me to recognize more of my actual potential, to expand who I actually am, and to begin to embody what I like to talk to people about. So the fact that, and I said in a workshop 2 weeks ago, it's really simple to understand that self-care is important. It's not always easy to fit it in our busy lives and to actually incorporate meaningful practices that will nurture us and fuel us. And so your work is a form of self-care for me. It's business development, but it's also actually going in where intellectually, I often talk about the head and the heart. We all know that it's a great idea. Whether it actually lands in our lives, in our calendars, in our actual embodied experience is another question entirely. So what I would say as I'm working through your work is, it's very simple. It's easy to understand. It's not necessarily easy to do in, huge chunks. I'll do some of the activations and some of your work, and then I'll need to take a week to implement and integrate it into my life and see how it actually feels when I show up differently to a typical situation. So.
Wow, it's very brave work. It's heart work, I like to call it, rather than hard work. It's heart work. And sometimes that can feel hard. And what I find so extraordinary is once we integrate the shift, that's when it can feel easy or simple. But getting to that place of ease and simplicity can feel hard because we're shifting, we're changing. So I like to say, don't get confused with something being simple is not valuable. Actually, there's so much power in simplicity. And it's actually for me, one of the keys that if something's getting overcomplicated, sometimes we've gone a bit too much in the head. And I usually find there's a place of ease and flow and simplicity when we drop in. But as you said, it means making that space for self-care, to stop, to slow down, to tune in, to listen, and make yourself a priority, right? Put yourself first.
Well, and for me to understand that me investing in me is a wonderful use of time and money. So that has been a big shift for me mentally to say, oh, yes, I'm a great investment. I'm someone, it would be very wise for me to spend time and energy expanding and developing because I have things that I'd like to do and accomplish. So.
Absolutely. And what I know, and this is a bit, I call it radical receiving for revolutionary riches, is that when you're receiving for you, you're actually activating your capacity to serve on a wider and deeper level and really listening to, what your business wants to become and up-leveling how you value what you do, but also, the value for others. So what I have seen, because I've been doing this for a while, is the ripple effects, right? You receive for you, which I think particularly for women, we can think is selfish or not the most important thing. And yet when we do that, and because obviously your work is about self-care, what I find amazing is the ripple effects of contribution when we look after ourselves. And
Oh,
that doesn't make sense,
absolutely.
does it, for a logical mind?
And it's so joyful. So even yesterday, when I got back to the house, one of my sons met me at the door with a big smile. And I was like, well, hello. And he said, guess what I did today? And I was like, what? And he said, I took a day off. And I was like, oh. So the ripple effect of who I'm being is unconsciously modeling that it's acceptable to care for yourself when you need it. And that is, it is revolutionary when we just accept ourselves and identify what we actually need and give it to ourselves. It's an amazing investment. And it definitely, he looked wealthy because he looked so happy and relaxed, and he'd done what he needed to do for himself for the day and to set himself up for the rest of the week. So really positive.
Beautiful, amazing, so gorgeous. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience within this work? Anything else you'd like to share today with us?
I've really benefited from the one-on-one coaching that happens monthly, as well as the calls and the items that are in the vault. So I've been working one-on-one with Eden, and it really does enhance and expand my experience of the mastermind. And so very grateful for that. Very grateful to have the opportunity to have a live chat with someone one-on-one on a regular basis. It's part of auditory processing that allows me to hear what I'm creating aloud and have it reflected back to me, and have her hold that vision of me as I'm growing. So.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm really glad to hear that. And is there anything you'd like to share for anyone who's exploring, considering joining the Living Abundance Mastermind? Is there anything that you feel that you'd like to share from your heart that you'd like to let other people know who are outside of the space that might be useful to hear from someone who's inside the space?
Right. I would just say that to be in a space that allows you to be all of who you are, the growing and expanding and dreaming and actioning all of the things that you actually want to do, to have there be a space where you don't have to be smaller than you are. You can be a bright, shining light. You can be full self-expression. Those are things that I think are incredibly valuable. And we've all had experiences where we share what a hope or dream or, an intention for our business development is, and someone might not receive it with very much generosity or even have the ability to hold space for that to grow. What I experience in the mastermind is that the space is there, and when you step into that space, you can just feel the room that is there for me to explore what I can become. So very relaxing, very nurturing. It really is an act of care for me to be in that space. So.
I am delighted to hear that, because that is exactly what I designed it for. So
yay.
It's something that I struggled with too. There's one of the money blocks I hear a lot, particularly for women, is the too much. You're too much, and it's too much, and so we kind of dim our light, we dim our power, we dim our vision, and we dim our desires, and mostly it's unconscious dimming and shrinking and hiding, and we don't even realize there's room to be that. And so what's beautiful, and also included in that, is vulnerability and sensitivity and emotions, right? That you can be wildly successful, but also still struggle and still need support. And I think sometimes what people do, like, oh, she's successful, she doesn't need anything, she's got it all sorted. Where I find actually the opposite is true, because the more successful you are, there's more responsibility, more you're holding. And it's so important that we're held, and we've got a space to be held, to let go, to relax, to de-stress.
I find that the more that I'm held, the more I can grow. It's like there's something in my nervous system that goes, oh, it's okay. And then I can do the things. I can move forward. And that is so exciting. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for saying yes. And thank you for taking the time to share your heart and your experience with us. It's hugely valuable. And if you want to find out more about Heather's work, you can check out her links in the bio in the write-up below this video. Thank you for joining us, Heather. It's an absolute joy and pleasure working with you. And I'm so excited for what's to come.
Me too. Thank you so much, Lara. Thanks for the time.